Hello, Masters in the Making. I'm your host, Mike Miller, and I want to welcome you to Simple Self Mastery. Simple Self Mastery is a self help podcast dedicated to giving you the best in health, wealth, love, happiness, and a little peace of mind 5 days a week. I'm excited and honored to introduce our guest today, CJ Liu. CJ Liu is a former CFO, marketing, and strategic consultant who brings her MBA and more than 20 years of corporate experience to both her coaching clients and radio listeners. When working with clients, she has clients tap into their inner wisdom by using both the right and left sides of their brain to remove roadblocks and live an inspired life. CJ, I've given our listeners a little peek at who you are. Is there anything you want to add to spice up that intro?
I think that's good. I think it's actually there's a lot that I can do to spice that up. The bio that I gave you was my corporate bio, which is where I have to present myself as somewhat normal. So, so I'm way less normal than that bio would lead you to believe. That's
we
what
all
I'd say.
Well, we're glad to have you on regardless. Thanks so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
And so for you, CJ, where focus goes, energy flows. Like, where's your energy going right now in
Wow.
the work that you do?
Well, you've asked me at a perfect time because
Perfect.
I have just come back from a Thursday through Sunday meditation retreat where it's all about energy. And so I can tell you where my energy aspirationally will go. I can tell you where my energy generally goes.
Sure.
Aspirationally, I don't have you. Do you do yoga at all?
I've been getting more and more into it the past couple weeks, I'd say, but not too heavily. But I'm trying to
Okay, so you're
get
familiar
into
with
it.
it. Do you understand the conceptual? The concept is to yoke mind, body, and spirit, to
Right.
be one and have all of it be a unified whole because we really are a unified whole.
Sure.
Yeah, so when you're doing asanas or a yoga practice, you'll be doing downward dog and warrior one and warrior two and warrior three. When you're doing that, it's all about taking your energy that normally goes outward, and the practice is bringing your energy inward, specifically towards Eastern practices believe that there's this thing called the Shushumna, which is an energy channel that runs all the way from the base of your spine all the way to the top of your head. So in yoga, you're trying to, instead of spending your energy going outward, you're trying to, while you're moving outward, still focusing your energy inward. So where my energy has been over this last 4 day period is with a guru who is literally using his energy to focus my energy from being outward towards this inner channel. So
Awesome.
that's kind of a complicated answer to your
No,
question.
that's perfect. No, that works just fine. And I kind of want to explore that a little bit, because we're
Yeah.
talking spirituality today. And so, a guru, is that kind of equivalent to a mentor? Like, what does that really equate to? Like, for those of our listeners listening that don't know what that means, what does that mean to you? Like,
I've asked lots of different people on my show, Fired Up with CJ, the same question, and it's basically you can replace guru with teacher. It's someone who teaches you something. So maybe a teacher of Buddhism. It could be your high school teacher. It's a teacher
sure.
that's teaching you something about in the case of what I went to this Thursday. It's called Kundalini Sadha. So it
Okay.
was basically taking your energy and focusing it on one point inside.
Gotcha. And so now, having the guru kind of help you and mentor you and teach you, as you just kind of explained, how does that work in terms of your own like practice? Do they kind of guide you, or do they lead you along and make sure you're on the right path? I mean, yeah, just kind of
It
explore
probably
that.
depends on the teacher. So some of them will guide you. It's a mix of what you want it to be. So uh, some of it is your own practice. So like when you're doing a yoga class, that's your own
Right.
practice. You're taking your energy and every day centering it towards from going outside focus to inner focus. And the reason, just to finalize that, the reason you do
Yeah.
that is because inside of you is in theory in a lot of these Eastern practices is your higher wisdom, highest self, godlike self, Shiva self. There's like 1,000 different words for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Your unified yoga self. So basically, the reason why you focus on yoga or any of these practices, including any, I would say virtually any meditation, is to refocus your energy from the outside to the inside so that you can connect to collective consciousness, a higher consciousness greater than just, you or I driving on the road yelling and screaming while we're at least I,
Yeah,
let's say me driving down
Oh,
the road
no,
yelling and
trust me.
screaming at
I'm
people.
New York area, we get plenty
Yeah.
of that. Trust me on that. And so, for people who are just getting into this and are just learning more about this, how do they step into that higher consciousness? How do they kind of grasp that concept? Because it's such
hmm
a big idea for a lot of people.
Yeah. I think you start where you're at. So for you, it may be doing a yoga class. For other people, it may be doing meditation. For other people, it may be playing music. I think you can get into tapping something that's greater than yourself in lots of different venues. It doesn't have to just be sitting on a meditation cushion. Um, Sometimes people get it through running. It's that kind of runner's high. It's like you know what I mean when you're
Yeah,
tapping into something. I don't know, where do you get
absolutely.
that? Where do you get that in your own life?
Well, for me, it happens to be a lot of meditation, like you said, and kind of bringing myself back to center.
Mhm.
Oftentimes you give too much energy to your thoughts, and I'm a victim to this all the time. And
Mhm.
then you kind of lose that connection to the sensory perceptions, if you will, like the physicality of everything.
Right.
And so for me, in order for me to feel good, what I do is I take cold showers,
Mhm.
I meditate in the morning, I journal. I have a whole morning routine that kind of gets me amped up and primed for the day. And when I tend to do that, I always feel like lighter. And I feel
Yes.
more calm, and my energy just not only feels good inside but also resonates outward. And
Right.
people pick up on that. It's like
Right.
that frequency, that wave. And
Yeah.
that's for what I do. That's how I feel that connection.
Yeah. So it's the same. So when based on what you just said, so whether it's the cold shower, which in order to take a cold shower, I don't, were you doing Wim Hof or something like that?
I was exactly, yes.
I take a cold
You-
shower for 45 seconds too. And in order to do that, and people don't try this at home unless you've practiced, but you take a cold shower and it's supposed to be great for your immunity system, but to sit in a frigid cold shower for 45 seconds to a minute, you have to be completely in the zone because otherwise you're going to be yelling and screaming and running around.
Oh my God. It's I did it in the summer, and it was just like I'm shaking and I'm like hyperventilating. And now after practicing, the Wim Hof method, it's just kind of like I kind of fall into this meditative state, and it's just completely like awareness, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful, and it's hard to really grasp unless you do it.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're definitely familiar with that.
Yeah, well, Wim Hof, there's a lot of breathing. So you're trying to oxygenate your body, right, as I understand it. And then you're focusing on this third eye area. And so there's in yoga, there's this breath called Kapalabhati breath, which is very similar, where it's like, Wim Hof has different paces. It's either fast, like
Right.
really fast like that, or it's the same thing. You're oxygenating your body. And when you do that, it's actually getting the energy to flow in your
Right.
body. So it's actually the uh, part of yoga. There's a practice called pranayama, which is focusing your breath. And the breath is really to clean out. It's like let's say a vacuum cleaner that vacuum cleans like all the, like, why did she do that? Why did that lady make the latte wrong? Like, it's just,
Yeah, yeah. Just
it's just,
shatter.
yeah,
I love that. I
exactly.
love that metaphor. That's awesome.
Yeah,
And
so
so,
that's kind of what
and
Wim Hof
so
does.
one thing you mentioned, I just want to like kind of backtrack a little bit, is
hmm
the third eye.
hmm
I'm familiar a little bit with the concept. For people listening who don't know what that is, what does that mean exactly?
Well, along the Sushumna are these energy channels. You can almost imagine them like there's like what you want to do is drive up. What is it? What's the main highway there? It's not 95. It's what's the main
Or
highway?
80?
91, 84. What's the main highway? New Jersey Turnpike. To
Yeah.
put it in your language.
Yes.
Okay, so you have the Jersey Turnpike, right?
Yes.
If you're going from New Jersey to New York, the fastest way is to get on the New Jersey Turnpike, right? Most direct, fastest way. That's the Shishumna. And then there's all these like turnabouts, right? Like there, and you have those in New Jersey, those route
Oh,
turnabouts. Yeah. So you have these
sweet. There.
turnabouts, which are called chakras. And there's one in the first chakra is kind of around your sexual organ area. The second is around your tummy, right around like a little bit above your belly button. The third is right near your ribs. The fourth is near your heart. The fifth is in your throat. The sixth is in your third eye. And then the seventh is in the crown chakra. And lots of different practices may say there are eight, but the most common is seven chakras. So the chakra. The sixth chakra is your third eye, and it's supposed to be your gateway to more than the consensus reality that we see. So, in the reality, it's like you and me. People are looking at this video. There's you and me. There are a set of people who see you, me, spirit guides, angels, all these other
Sure.
realities that, frankly, I don't necessarily see, but some people do see. So the
Okay.
third eye is like opening your mind, and so opening your mind and ability to perceive beyond what our normal day in day out reality would be. So when you're doing Wim Hof, you're opening. Some people believe that this is a gateway to consciousness. So it's a gateway to this inner. Because you had asked earlier, what is collective consciousness? It's this kind of inner wiser version of yourself that like what, there are probably times when we're like, I don't know how I got that, I'm brilliant. Well, it's probably because you tap into some higher version of yourself, or when you
Sure, sure, yeah, yeah,
yeah
like that, your gut, like your intuition, almost. Would
yes
that be okay?
yes yeah
Right.
yeah so
That.
collective
Yeah.
consciousness is usually when you're tapping into some type of higher. You're not conscious of just like it's Mike and CJ talking. You're conscious of actually, I'm aware of my body, I'm aware of my space, I'm aware of my breath. I'm conscious at that level, but then you're conscious of that I'm not even, the two of us are just projections of a
Sure.
greater consciousness, and the two of us are one. So you're kind of conscious at all those levels. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
For the masters in the making listening, it's kind of like, as CJ is saying, just to clarify, it's it's almost like we're all the same essence. We're all one, but we're all just our physical manifestation is just kind of the vessel
Yes.
for
Yeah.
the higher consciousness that we all share.
Right.
Um, and so I love where this conversation is going and leading to. And so I kind of want to switch gears
Sure.
just a little bit here, CJ. For you on your journey, what has been the one biggest challenge you faced on your spiritual journey?
Um,
Because we face a lot of ups and downs, a lot of successes and challenges, but
I
what
think
for
it's
you?
probably doubt. Once you follow a spiritual practice, it's a fundamental belief that there is a higher force that is guiding us all the time. And we just have to tune into it by doing meditation, by doing Wim Hof, by running, all the different things that we talked about, by journaling, right? When
Yeah,
you journal, there's probably stuff that comes out in your journal and you go, what? Like what? I
yeah,
wrote
oh
what?
yeah,
What? Right? And sometimes when you write stuff in your journal or you meditate, you'll get stuff and go, what? I don't know. Really? I'm supposed to do this? That just sounds crazy. And so it's basically having the faith and figuring out how to work with the doubt. So it's really a package deal. You get the doubt, and the faith has to be greater than the doubt in order for you to overcome the doubt. In my mind, in my
sure.
personal practice, the biggest obstacle is usually doubt, and correspondingly related to that is having a faith that is much greater than that doubt.
Sure. And so for people listening, and thank you for sharing that. Like, what's one thing they might do in order to have more faith and kind of push that doubt? I mean, is there anything you can suggest to them?
Yeah, I think that, when you get a hit, an intuitive hit, or an inner sense that you need to do something, follow it. Doesn't have to be anything big. So, start off small. So it could be,
Yeah.
what would be the best thing for me to do today? Should I go for a run, or should I go work out at the gym, and just see what it tells you, and then figure out like, oh, okay, so start developing a dialogue and a trusting. It's like a friend. If you just met a friend, you'd want to build trust
Right.
and friendship. So similarly, you want to build that trust and friendship with your intuition, your higher self, so that you can start trusting that this person has your back. So I guess that's what I would do is, you'll get intuitive hits. And so it may say, I don't know, tell me about one of your journal entries that you're like, what, Mike, what?
Oh my gosh. Well, I would say, I journal every morning. First thing I do, that's what I do. And for
Mm-hmm.
anyone listening, that's a great way to kind of figure out what you need to get done for the day,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of at the end of the day, kind of go over what you did and like how you can improve. And do the
Mm-hmm.
same thing for my podcast interviews, for everything. But one of the things that I looked at recently, and for me, it's all about pushing my comfort zone every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to push, and it could be something as simple as I work part time at a
Mm-hmm.
GNC in the
Mm-hmm.
nearby area.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I had struggled with is pitching a certain product,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a lot of money, and for me it was uncomfortable facing that sort of rejection.
Right.
And so what I did was I journaled about it. I'm like, this is what I have to do. And in order to solve that, I really just need to just face it and just do it,
Mm-hmm.
and then see how that feels. And
Mm-hmm.
sure enough, that moment came yesterday, as a matter of fact, where
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, I was determined. I was excited. I didn't let the fear get to me. And so I flipped it around to more of excitement. And I said, okay, I'm going to tackle this today. And sure enough, I did it. And I was like, okay, I survived. I'm
Mm-hmm.
fine. It's all right.
Right.
And then after you do that once, it's like, okay, this is what I can do better next time. And then you
Yes.
get stronger and stronger that way. But that's one of the things I kind of dealt with, to go back to your question,
Yeah. Yeah,
recently.
because you're not sure of like, wow, I'm not sure. It feels like I'm getting this draw that I need to actually be putting myself out there more. Because putting yourself in a sales position and selling a product at GNC, it
Right.
requires you to put yourself out there and someone to say, no, I don't like that, or why are you talking, so
Right.
it's kind of you have to face rejection. And so basically putting yourself out there is a huge step. And so probably tomorrow you'll put yourself out there and a little bit more and a little bit
Absolutely.
more and a
Yeah.
little bit more. So I think that would be what exactly what I'm talking about. You provided a perfect example.
Sure. And I'm glad that we can kind of have the discussion about that. It's such an important thing to bring up for anyone listening who kind of wants to push the boundaries in whatever they're doing on their personal journey, whether it's spirituality or any sort of field.
Yeah.
That's one way to do it. And sure enough, the more you do it, the more it becomes commonplace and
Right.
this natural state of being,
Yeah.
which I find so fascinating.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna change my original answer from doubt to fear, because I think when you mentioned I was afraid, I think that's probably the higher. Doubt is a manifestation of fear, so that's probably the highest level. Because you had said, what is your number one obstacle, and it's fear.
Fear.
I think fear and
Yeah.
fear of like what will happen if I, like in your case, fear of what happens. I think all of us have that fundamental fear. What will happen if I put myself out there? Will I be okay? What will happen if I quit my job? What will happen?
Sure.
So I think that I'm like the rest of us. I have fear, and that's probably my number one obstacle.
Sure, sure. And then like you said, it's just having that faith, that the faith will be greater than the fear, and to kind of push through it. And
Yeah,
as I experienced that, I was okay. It was all good. And the same
yeah,
thing for, as I'm sure you've experienced as well.
yeah.
And so CJ, I want to switch gears a little bit here.
Sure.
We're gonna move into what I like to call the moment of mastery, where you
Okay.
can share tips, resources and insights directly to our listeners. Are you ready for that?
Yes, I'm ready.
Let's do it. So, what is one daily habit that contributes to your personal success?
Hmm. I would say meditation is probably one. I think I also journal. I like that. I have been a little bit lax lately since I was on this meditation trip, and I think for me personally, it would be exercise
Mm.
of any type, because it's just important for me to go out and get my body moving and getting oxygenated and moving and just getting the blood flowing. So
Sure.
I think I gave you three. Did you just want
Great.
one?
Three is fine. Perfect.
Meditation is
We, we've
one.
been we've been talking a lot about routine today, so I'm glad to add it. And
Yeah.
so, what is one simple mindset shift our listeners can apply to how they think about spirituality?
Um, I think it's regardless of what direction you come from, maybe you're a Buddhist, or maybe you are a Taoist, or maybe you're Christian. I think the mind shift would be um, that going back to what we said in the very beginning, it's all your wisdom is all in the inside. And I think sometimes we give power to others, including, religious figures, to tell us what's right or wrong, or to determine what is the best thing for our lives. And at least in my own personal experience, my inner guidance, I feel like, knows more. And for someone on the external to tell me what is right for me, it just seems ludicrous, right? When you really think about someone from the
Yeah.
outside saying it's like, Mike, what's best for you based on my, whatever experience with you is this. It's like, how the heck do you know? How the heck would I know? The best expert on Mike is Mike, and the best expert on CJ is CJ. And I think that would be, regardless. So I guess I would say that we have to be careful about not having others rob our power, because
Mm,
the power really comes inside from ourselves and from tapping our inner wisdom. And I
sure.
wish more people would do that, because I think they'd be happier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for the masters of the making, like CJ is saying, you know you best. You
Yeah.
know you best.
Yeah.
And so, CJ, what is one simple action that our listeners can take right now, wherever they are, to jumpstart their own personal spiritual success?
I think the simple, and I don't mean to sound trite, because every single
No?
person you've talked to will probably say it's your breath, because just like noticing your breath. So in your breath is life energy, and in that life energy is consciousness. So just noticing your breath is the gateway to noticing all the layered things that are within your breath. So if you can just start off by, breathing in and then exhaling. And if you just were to do that a couple times during a day, that would help you move from being out this way, to all
Right.
being
Right. Right.
being inside, and everything will just kind of go better. Whether it's like you're stressed out because you have a big project, just take 3 deep breaths, and it will just be better. I promise you, you'll be more efficient, more productive. You'll get better high quality results on the project if you're just breathing.
I love it.
Anything you're about to do a speech, take 3 breaths. Anything. It's just you need to get back to center, because otherwise you come from an ungrounded place, and it's the least efficient, least resourceful place. Because when you're out here trying to get things done and moving around and your energy is all over the place, you're just inherently less productive, because your energy is focused in 1,000 different directions, all arrows pointing outward versus arrows pointing inward. Does that make sense? If you could just
Absolutely.
center your
Yeah.
energy, focus your energy, and the easiest way to do that is just 3 breaths. I mean, just take 3 breaths, and
Three
you're gonna have
breaths.
better results. I promise.
Absolutely. And Eckhart Tolle says it well too, is you get the inside right and the outside falls into place.
Yes.
And
Oh, that's
so
beautiful. Much better said. Just follow his advice.
no. I'm just going off of what you're saying. CJ, you're just dropping value here nonstop. And so for you, CJ, like what is one book you can recommend and why?
Oh, wow. I've read a lot of books. You know that, right? Since I have a
Yeah, I
radio
believe
show,
it.
I have like one
Yeah.
spiritual book.
What's on
Um,
your shelf right now that you're picking up?
um, I don't know if I can narrow it down to one. I have a whole bunch of favorite books. Um, so I'll tell you some of my favorite authors.
Sure.
Okay, so this is, I don't know. I hope please don't get pissed off at me, spiritual
Oh
authors out there who I
God.
interview. But I'll tell you who my all time favorite authors and speakers and just human beings are. Joe Dispenza is one of them. I think he's fabulous. And if you go to the Fired Up with CJ page, some of my most popular interviews are with Dr. Joe Dispenza. I think because adore him, and he's just
Sure.
great. So I think a lot of his books, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself is a great book. He just came out with a new book that talks about like all the research that he's done with respect to scientific research to prove that some of the spiritual ideas that are floating out there are real. He doesn't approach them as spiritual ideas, but frankly, that's how I look at it. I love Lama Surya Das because he's just the real deal. Like when he's a real person and he's a spiritual person, and he can flip between those two things in a very elegant, beautiful way.
And who is that? Can you repeat that name again?
Lama Surya Das.
Okay. Lama
Of
Surya
course, my
Das.
own teacher, Swami K. Chartanarta, I'm a big fan of, and you can see his stuff on my radio show. He's a Shaivite, non-dual tantric. It's kind of more of an advanced practice.
Yeah, it sounds. I was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
trying to
don't
pick
get
it
it.
up on.
That's, I think for people who are in the masses, I think
Right.
um, for your audience, I think the other one, Timber Hawkeye, is really good. He has books that with ideas that you can read one page a day, and they're ideas that he wrote when he was on a meditation retreat. They're based on letters that he wrote to his friends just about what was happening on his spiritual retreats. And I think they're very lovely. And for people who are busy and are like, I don't have enough time, just give me like one spiritual Twitter like nugget a day. I think that he's really good, especially for people your age, because
Sure.
he's a millennial. I think he's kind of in your age range, so I
Yeah,
think that
sure.
that would be really good. I have so many people that I love. I think if you're interested in shamanism, Sandra Ingerman is amazing, and Carl Greer, two great people, kind of a yin yang of both.
Sure.
Um, so those are some of my all-time favorite people that I've
Absolutely.
ever interviewed. There are a
That's
lot.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to look at
Oh,
that.
and if you're Christian, Brother David. Have you ever heard of Brother
I
David?
have not. No.
Oh my God, if you ever want to talk to someone who's like the most lovely person in the whole wide world and that you feel like you're just showered with love, and but it's not like and he's like super he's really bright. So it's a combination of a really smart, loving person, which I think is the best combination
Sure.
ever.
Absolutely. 100%.
All those people that I mentioned are all smart, loving people and who are just
Yeah.
pushing to figure out how to change your world. And I just have so much respect for all the people that I've just mentioned. So those are
Yeah.
the authors.
Absolutely.
They have lots of, every single one of them has like 4 or 5 books that they've written.
Sure. Perfect. Well, we'll put some resources in the show notes page of today's episode, and I'm going to look into those as well because I'm very curious now
Yeah.
to see
Yeah. They're
what they
great.
have to offer the world.
Yeah.
And finally, CJ, where is the best place our listeners can go to learn more about you and what you do?
Well, they can go to my firedupwithcj.com website. They can go to Fired Up with CJ on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel and I have a Facebook page. Guess
Oh,
what the name is?
is it Fired Up with CJ?
Yeah.
Getting fired up with the CJ.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so, well, thank you so much for sharing your
Sure.
journey with all of us, CJ, at Simple Self Mastery. I want Masters in the Making. Now that you're listening, go check out simpleselfmastery.com. Type CJ's name in the search bar. We'll have a show notes page where you can check out the links, resources, timestamps, and an overview of what CJ and I discussed today. Thank you for mastering the mic and sharing a ton of value, CJ. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show and would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support, love, and blessings.